dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Hello, Confetti Club. It is Pixie, and this is Jill. My heart is pounding, and I don't know how to even start this. If you guys have been following me for any amount of time, you will know that mental health is something that I have always struggled with. Ever since my very first year of doing YouTube, and even before that. It is always something that I've really been open about, and I wanted to kind of share my experience, and just because it feels less alone. Baseline makes you feel less alone. Community feels good. If I can help someone, that would be fantastic. And these past few years, I've been going through some particularly unique and challenging mental health struggles, which has in the end resulted in me being recently diagnosed with DID, dissociative identity disorder, which still feels really, really crazy to say out loud. This has been something that my therapist and I have been kind of suspecting and working on for about a year now. And so back in May of this year, I did ask to be put on a wait list for another full psychological evaluation. Except for certain things like autism, they were not able to screen me for autism. However, they heavily encouraged that I follow that up somewhere else. So anyway, we're not talking about that this video, but mostly a full psych eval. I came out about this by posting to Twitter. I thought it would be easiest to just kind of not say much, you know, just get it out there, let people kind of freak out or whatever, and then come here and do a proper video where I sit down and talk you through it and explain a little bit like what led up to my diagnosis, like where did this come from, what. Although I really want to state in a very kind way, I don't owe anyone an explanation of my entire trauma history and mental health. Like, you know, I talk about this online, but it's kind of really gross to like dig and pry and like force people to kind of explain extremely personal things. So I'm only going to be sharing what I'm comfortable sharing because I'm a human being with privacy and boundaries. Okay, let's go back to the start. I don't have any notes for this video. I'm just sitting here, I'm just winging it. I'm just spilling me guts. So basically, I've had DID since I was probably around 3 years old. And then there was a re-traumatization in my very, very early, like, pre-teen years, and then just kind of constant other struggles that my brain just absolutely could not cope with. And different types of traumas, like relationship traumas and bullying traumas, and oh, trigger warning time. It'll be trigger warning time. So I have been dissociating from a very, 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 very young age, and I just thought that that was normal because it's all I had ever known since I was so small. And I just want to, I guess, preface with that so you understand why in these past 2 to 3-ish years we've kind of really clicked in and gone, wait, that's not quite right. That shouldn't be happening right now. That is not explained by borderline personality disorder. That does not fall under BPD criteria. What is going on? At the start of the pandemic, I started to experience something that I thought was age regression. I think I got really, really triggered and afraid because obviously we're stuck at home. The freaking world is kind of falling apart. The pandemic is really scary. It was like nothing I could have foreseen, you know? Everyone was freaking out, and I guess the way that my brain chose to freak out was like, time to revert back to childhood and kind of take care of that inner child, but in a very, very literal way. I would wake up and be surrounded by crayons and Legos and like little sticker books, and my YouTube watch history would be like Hello Kitty adventures. And this had never happened to me before. I've always had a very childlike spirit. I have always been a little bit more kind of youthful, like mature in some ways and very much not in others. My house, the way I present kind of looks like it was decided by a 6-year-old, and I'm starting to realize, oh, I think it kind of was. And that's not a bad thing. Even like this tattoo is literally my little baby childhood favorite amusement park. So a lot of things have been just clicking in and making more sense. You know, why am I so extremely attached to pedicure? Why do I have so many pedicure tattoos? And that doesn't mean that, like, you know, if you like kawaii fashion, I'm not saying that you have a dissociative child in you. You can definitely just like cute things, pastel things, Sanrio. You can be an adult fan of Lego. That's a thing. I thought I was. I think I'm a child fan of Lego. So yeah, that childlike part, and I called it age regression, and I thought it was just BPD age regression for a long time, probably for like 6 to 8 months. And I read about it a little bit online. I saw other people using it as a coping mechanism. It made it less scary to know, like, wait, no, this is something that you can do. Some people do this even in therapy. So I kind of went under the assumption that I was BPD dissociating so hard, because dissociation is one of the factors for BPD, and I was diagnosed with BPD, so I was like, oh, that you know, that tracks. Work. Pop off. Wig. But like other things were happening. Other things started to happen that could not be explained. Stevie and I got into some sort of argument once, and I stormed off in the car. I took the car and I went for a little emo drive, listening to my music and singing my little emo songs. And then I came back and I sat down on the couch to I guess talk with them and talk it out. And I don't remember this very well. It's like pretty crusty, but I've been over this a couple times because it was one of the first signs of a part that wasn't like a younger 6-year-old, because Stevie called me their like girlfriend at the time. They called me, at the time, like we broke up. No, at the time when I was not using they them pronouns, they called me their girlfriend, and I remember feeling like repulsed. And this just feeling of like, that's like almost offended. Like, how dare you call me your girlfriend? That is like, you wish. Evil! What? Not evil. Be nice. Sorry. I remember being offended and weirded out and grossed out that they called me their girlfriend, that they used she, her pronouns, and that they called me Jillian. And that was not the last time that happened. So that's concerning, especially for your partner. Like, I am so lucky that I have such a great support system around me who have stuck with me through some like, admittedly, like, kind of scary shit. I wanted to feel it out and be like, hey, was that just a weird fluke? I kept saying these were psychotic episodes or psychotic breaks or delusions. I also kept calling my age regression a delusion, because a delusion is when you believe in something that's not real, it's not fact. And I was like, well, I know for the fact is true that I am not 6 years old. I have been alive and gone around the sun for 23 years. So I was like, oh, these are just psychotic delusions of BPD. But issues like this kept happening. Self-harm was continuing to be bad. I have not been clean from cutting since the last time I talked about self-harm, and that sucks, because I was clean for like a good few years, and I just got re-triggered, and that coping mechanism and that need and that urge from that part came back. There were several things that were raising a lot of concerns, and I had not been in proper therapy for kind of probably too long, especially with the weirdness and severity of what the hell was going on. Like, I'm not me turning into a baby and not having a therapist. Like, we need, you know, please someone get her to a doctor. And Stevie actually found a really amazing therapist. I had previously written off talk therapy and just like therapy in general as something that did not work for me. which is so cocky and like weird, and like I don't agree. Like, what is that thought method? Oh my god, you think you're literally smarter than a doctor? I just had really terrible experiences with therapy. I have been in and out of therapy since grade 5. It was grade 5 my mom found my first suicide note. And I didn't have maybe necessarily a plan to attempt or anything, but like, why did I write that and why did I mean it? But ever since then, I've been in and out of therapists and specialists for eating disorders and other things. Like, nothing ever worked. It never felt productive. I always dreaded every single session, and I never got coping skills that worked. The therapist I am with now has changed my life. Oh, don't cry! Oh! I have never felt so, like, warmly welcomed and trusting and understood and, like, in the right, proper hands of someone who understands what I'm going through. No one ever tested me for any sort of dissociative anything my whole life. The test just never got put in front of me. And the second you find someone who actually understands a little bit just about trauma and the way that trauma impacts the mind and the body, you start to actually get somewhere. So I basically went in on my first day and I had like 4 pages. You see that TikTok that's like Lamau when the client trauma dumps in the first session? That's what I did. That's what you were supposed to do. That was convenient for him. Anyway, trauma dumped my whole life story in therapy. And I want to say the first like 6 to 8 sessions were kind of just like, we did not talk about DID or plurality or anything at all. It was mostly how to manage and take care of my immediate symptoms, like self-harm, relationships, friendships, which have all been really so great, by the way. Like, everything is so good. Like, what? I was just profoundly and utterly fucking confused. I basically went in just like feeling insane. And I know that's a controversial word to use, but I literally was turning into a baby. I was feeling like I wasn't my partner's partner. I was trancing out and losing time and losing days and like not relating with my name. I have never related with the face I see in the mirror. That's why my makeup and my hair is so absolutely like wacky and out there, because I need something definable to understand and relate to, because I don't. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. And after working with my therapist for quite some time, he did give me a diagnostic impression, which is not a diagnosis, but he said, I think we can possibly start thinking in an OSDD or PTSD with dissociative features mindset. So it's not like I showed up and on the first day he went, "You have DID, let's run with it." Like, absolutely not at all. And that's not what I thought either. I literally was like, I might just be having psychotic delusions all of the time. It was at that point where I came out to my close real life family and friends. I have been out to my family and friends and kind of talking to them about how this is something we're suspecting. Just basically, I would say suspected plurality, in case like I wasn't replying, or I would reply strangely, or I would forget an event, because these things have been happening really badly. So this helped a lot. Basically, I just told trusted people that kind of needed to know, because as you go through the therapy process and you start actually trying to communicate and talk to your parts and reach out and say like, hey, what's going on? And it's not just confusing, like random people are using the body and it is like there's no communication whatsoever. Although it has, at the point I'm at now, it's very much simmered down, but at the start of it, it really was like kicking a hornet's nest. Things just kind of frazzled up and it was very loud and busy in my head. It would often feel like I was in like a crowded cafeteria and there's just chatter and it's only 5 of us. But when you're used to 1 or 2 kind of conflicting voices, thinking that was a normal inner monologue, 4 to 5 all at once is a huge change. So no, you don't just like unlock alters at an old age. That is not possible. That's not what I'm saying at all. These are parts that have been around all from starting at different points in my life. But we're just now starting to actually be able to see them in the inner world and talk with them and negotiate and arrange switches sometimes to a degree, not really. I think you can imagine, it's fair to say, going through all of this and not telling like your mom or your roommate or even your teacher if you're in college. I told my teachers in college. I was like, hey, I'm starting to like lose it. Sometimes other people would go to class. That's happened. Hi, if you're my classmate and you're watching, I'm sorry. I hope he was nice. Especially under crunchy times of stress like in college. It can exacerbate switching a lot more. I didn't tell my whole class or anything. It was like a private, specifically to get accommodations for absences so I could work from home if I was like really switchy, really blurry, not understanding what's real, what's reality. It helps to be in your own house with your own sewing machine. So yeah, I don't really know where to go from here. Like I said, there's 5 of us. I'm Jillian. It's been mostly Jillian this video. I think Jarek peeked in a little bit to say his part about the first time that he really talked to Stevie. I feel like people might be confused about my level of co-consciousness. Jarek has been around with me since I was 13. I just didn't understand that he was like another dude. We are co-con quite often, and I really like the car analogy for my system especially. Sometimes it'll feel like I'm in the driver's seat and Jer is in the passenger seat. We can even just be parked and we're both kind of tweeting, looking at the same phone, and we can kind of pass it back and forth to like say what we would say. It's literally like being 2 like friends in a car, watching and reacting to the same thing. I know that's probably really hard to explain, and honestly, I'm gonna say it now, I was surprised I was diagnosed with DID. I really thought I was an OSDD case, but my amnesia is apparently definitely bad enough and definitely there to the point where I'm not even aware of it half the time. I was shocked actually. The friggin' diagnosis, the little paragraph they wrote up kind of called me out because I wasn't even aware that I had switched during our interview, like our talk interview. I really was not aware. I remember when we were talking about trauma details of like the stuff that happened when I was very young. I remember getting kind of aggressive and louder, and I apologized because I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's kind of hard to talk about. Like, I didn't mean to yell. And then in the diagnostic report, they're like, they have been perceived in the interview to switch before our eyes fluidly between personalities. The vocal tone, the body language, and overall personality is different. I was like, okay, work, diva, wig, pop off once again. Such a call out. And then I read the full report and they went more into it. I was like, okay, just call me out. Clearly, I don't even understand my own system this well yet. Like, we have been working together as a system for not that long, like maybe 5 months, maybe 6. So I promise I'm just as confused as you. Like I said at the start, I did originally post about this on Twitter just to kind of, as a little like, you know, the baby wading pool before you dive off the deep end. Actually, is Twitter scarier? What is the scariest platform? TikTok's been pretty vicious. Yeah, I knew and expected and was prepared for people to just like pretty much viciously fake claim. I think we've earned a wine. How about you? Not like complain, like rosé. Where was I? Yes. Fake claiming is essentially, I'm not sure if it's internet terminology, and I don't think it's DID specific, but it's basically just telling someone that their disorder is not real and that they don't have it and that they're faking, usually for attention or something. And I knew that this was going to happen to me because unfortunately I have seen it happen to every single DID and OSDD person, let alone content creator, that chooses to exist online. It is so rampant in that community. People seem to think that DID is like a trend right now, and I don't know if that's because of TikTok, and maybe it is. I feel like they also called it a trend in like the fucking 90s or 80s or whatever fucking year Sybil came out, and they all said, ooh, multiple personality disorder is just a made-up movie trope. Like, I feel like we've been going through this for decades and decades and decades, and maybe this is an unfortunate time for people to be diagnosed as a system, because although I definitely want to stress that I got 99.999% love and support and sweetness, y'all, some people are so vicious. Oh my lord. Just reaching and running with what they've reached. So yeah, don't tell people, especially freshly diagnosed with like an extremely kind of hard to swallow lifelong ass thing. No one came out with a cake. I'm coping. I am sincerely trying to cope and make it light and be positive, because that's what I do, especially as a part. I am the happy little birthday jester, and like, if, you know, I had to cake it. I had to do the cake. The reason I wanted this diagnosis on paper from doctors, whatever it would be, DID, PTSD, BPD, histrionic, I was open to anything, schizophrenia, whatever's wrong with me, let me know, I want to work on it. And that's me. That is her right there, the first pick of the bunch. My second diagnosis, because of course it's a laundry list. Imagine if I could just be diagnosed with one simple thing that explained it all. The second one was PTSD, which actually really surprised me as well. I definitely didn't think my trauma was that bad, but I am extremely traumatized. So PTSD, but DID is just a really severe form of PTSD if you believe in the structural theory of dissociation, which I kind of do. I think so. I think that makes sense, right? The third diagnosis was straight up generalized anxiety disorder again. I was diagnosed that back when I was like 14, when I had my first psych eval. And then after that, it was BPD again. So the borderline was not a misdiagnosis. It's an addition. It's comorbid. Ooh, I was wondering about that. I was like, were they wrong? Because I also did the MID, the mid, which is probably the best diagnostic tool for dissociative disorders, and it also tests you for BPD. This is probably the one thing I want to stress to anyone who's like trying to come at me just because they feel like bullying a traumatized person for fun. They literally test you for attention seeking, for factitious disorder, which is thinking you have it and you don't. They test you for like straight up making it up. They test for random things that would tip off if you're straight up like lying. They also test for your borderline personality disorder index, and if it's just really severe like borderline that is kind of confusable with like an OSDD thing. So I have been checked and combed. My sweet little brain has been combed like a little Zen garden so deeply for any pebbles of mistruth or making it up or anything. I fucking promise you, because this is a lot for me to swallow too. And I couldn't believe it either. And that's why I went, please comb through my Zen garden brain and pick out all the rocks. I want to know what is going on. And it just so happened to be did. Sorry, there's a really funny video, a really dumb, a really silly, not smart video that this one guy made. And Stevie and I just keep joking about it because he calls it DID.
Dissociative Identity Disorder, DID for short.
Instead of DID. Take this test to find out if you have did. So how will this impact my content and channel moving forward? Again, I do really want to stress, I've always made mental health content, whether that be just general coping skills, anxiety, depression, any of my on the floor crying, talking about self-injury or relapse, or even body positivity is pretty much I consider mental health, because it's literally your brain thoughts about your body, kind of like a vicious cycle. I don't want to shock you guys by like drastically changing into a DID channel, so please don't fear that. That is not going to happen. But I will talk about it sometimes. I definitely will make some videos on it. And it might be a little bit more of a DID ratio at this start moment, because it is really impacting and consuming my life right now. Because I'm 23 years old and I just got this life-changing, like lifelong fucking news. And I love you guys so much, and I really treasure you, and I'm really grateful for you. But I need you to understand that you did not sign up to get fashion exclusive, kawaii only, like nothing but hair tutorials and lookbooks. You signed up for a mentally ill human being with a YouTube channel. I'm a mentally ill person with a blog, and I definitely don't want to like betray my longtime viewers by changing my whole content, so I don't think it will be that. Because again, I've always talked about my brain, and I've also always made personality-based content, just how I feel, my favorite things, a trip I went on, and all of that content from now on will probably come with context of plurality. You know, if I do a what's in my bag and something is in there for my little, I might just joke about it. I'll be like, this is hers. I'm no longer going to have to skirt around and weirdly try to explain away Jarek's Twitter account. Jer was really struggling with feeling kind of shoved in a box and hidden away and suffocated, and like he couldn't be real, even though he was like, I'm very much real, I'm very much here, I'm very much a trauma holder. Like, please let me live. I need to live to heal. And so he started hanging out with my friends in real life, and they've been awesome with him. And he has like new sweet little budding friendships with so many new people in my life, as do my other parts. And obviously he made the Villainy Swells Twitter account, and I think it's fair, because I was like, I'm not even diagnosed, I don't even know what's going on. Maybe this is just a gender thing. Maybe it's just a weird gender thing. It's such a stretch. Anything I've tried, anything my brain tries to bring up to like be like, nah, this couldn't be happening, it's such a stretch. Oh my god. Gender fluid people don't specifically feel specific ages at those genders with different names and entire personalities. So yeah, this is a bomb to drop. This is, you know, a big video. Thank you so much for watching it through till this point. I really appreciate you. Like, I'm scared. I'm scared about this, but I know that I'm gonna be okay. And honestly, it's been a lot easier having a little bit of a team in place, being able to kind of call on parts, and we're actually kind of like functionally communicating a little bit. It's absolutely wild how far I have come in these year to half a year of plurality discovery. I have been the healthiest mentally I have ever been. Ever. This is the only therapy that has ever worked, and it's working wonders. I'm actually like jaw on the floor. Anytime that something works, that emotion wheel, that's for Jer. And once you recognize that it's a specific part that has a specific way of hurting, and you can address that, like, I've just been coming leaps and bounds in my own mental health. I have not cut in a long time. It's been months and months. So it's overall a good thing. It has overall brought me nothing but more stability, more healing, and better mental health. Although it is scary, and I'm afraid, and it is hard to swallow, and it has large implications for the rest of my life and future and everything. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching this. The comment section on this is going to be quite a cheeky little jungle ride, so hop on the safari with me. Just saying, I am not afraid to block and remove people that straight up tell me that this is not real and that I don't have it, because I don't have time to deal with all of the emotion of being diagnosed with DID and then also dealing with people just trying to be like hee hee hoo hee ha ha. Like, it's hard enough. Hope you understand. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of your hair. Thank you for watching again. Long video. Love you, love you, love you. Would you guys like for us to each do a meet and alter video? There are 5 of us. I haven't fully come out and said everyone's names yet. Just Jarek and me for some reason. I don't know. I'm letting everyone kind of think about internet and stuff at their own pace. But Jer definitely, he's a sweetie little 14 to 16-year-old. He's like, I want to be able to use TikTok, please. I need to be able to post my emo songs, please. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next video, which is not this one, because this one's over. Bye!